Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a single synthetic molecule that is, quite frankly, completely rewriting the laws of human metabolism. We're talking about an investigational drug called Retatrutide. Now, if you've been following the massive shifts in metabolic medicine and weight loss recently, you know this landscape is moving incredibly fast. But this molecule, it's doing things we literally thought were impossible without invasive surgery. It is, for all intents and purposes, a triple hormone superweapon. Okay, let's dive right into this roadmap. We'll start by cracking the metabolic code, look at this new triple hormone superweapon, and unpack the mind-blowing trial results. From there, we'll cover healing the fatty liver, touch on the side effects and safety, and finally look at the future of weight loss.
So, Part 1. Cracking the metabolic code, the biological locks and keys of human metabolism.
To really grasp the sheer power of Retatrutide, we first need to take a quick look at how our bodies actually process energy. Basically, our bodies rely on hormones. Think of them as specific chemical keys designed to turn specific cellular locks. And this brings us to the foundation of the current weight loss drugs you've probably heard of, GLP-1 agonists, like semaglutide. These are manufactured substances that mimic a naturally occurring gut hormone called GLP-1. So if your metabolism is a car engine, GLP-1 acts a lot like a speed governor. It slows down stomach emptying and signals your brain that you're full. It's essentially restricting your fuel intake by turning a single biological lock. And hey, it's incredibly effective. But it's still a passive form of weight loss. You're losing weight primarily because, well, you're just consuming less gas.
But that raises a pretty fascinating question, right? What if we could pick more than one lock? What if we could escalate this sort of biological arms race and move beyond just a single receptor? Well, that's exactly what scientists have figured out how to do.
Moving to Part 2, the triple hormone superweapon, escalating the fight against metabolic disease. And this brilliantly illustrates the revolutionary nature of Retatrutide. It's part of a next-generation class of compounds that are entirely changing the rules of engagement against metabolic disease. Scientists call Retatrutide a triple G compound. It doesn't target one receptor or even two, it targets three simultaneously. First, you have GLP-1, acting as the governor, restricting fuel and reducing your appetite. Then you add GIP, which acts as the amplifier and enhances insulin secretion and those brain satiety signals. But the ultimate game changer, that's the third target, glucagon. Normally, glucagon opposes insulin and raises blood sugar, which on its own could actually be dangerous. But because the GLP-1 and GIP components trigger insulin release at the same time, they completely neutralize that risk. This allows the drug to safely unleash glucagon's superpower, acting as an idle booster. It literally forces your cellular engines to torch fat and increase your resting energy expenditure. It converts cellular energy into a biological green light for lipid breakdown. Imagine your car burning through a full tank of gas while it's just sitting parked in the driveway. That is exactly what this drug does to your fat stores. So the crucial takeaway here is this profound shift. As the source material notes, instead of just eating less, the body actively burns more fuel. We are moving away from purely passive appetite suppression and stepping into an active, high-functioning, fat-burning metabolic state. Which brings us to Part 3, mind-blowing trial results. Let's look at the unprecedented data from the Phase 3 Triumph-1 trial. 30.3%. I really want to let that massive number hang in the air for a second. The biochemistry we just talked about sounds amazing in theory, sure, but when they actually tested it in the real world, it produced something completely unprecedented. In a trial following over 2,300 participants for up to 104 weeks, those on the maximum dose reached an average weight loss of 30.3%. We are talking about an average of 85 pounds, that's 38.5 kilograms, of mass just simply disappearing. Let's break down the 80-week data from the broader trial to see exactly how this scales. Notice the stark contrast here. The placebo group, they lost just 2.2%. Meanwhile, the Retatrutide 12 milligram dose drove an average 80-week weight loss of 28.3%, or about 70.3 pounds. And what this data doesn't explicitly show, but confirms in the fine print, is that nearly half of the patients, 45.3% to be exact, on that 12 milligram dose lost 30% or more of their starting weight. Furthermore, over 65% of them brought their BMI below 30. They effectively fell out of the clinical definition of obesity entirely. And here is another massive differentiator. You know how traditional weight loss drugs generally hit a hard plateau around week 68? The body basically makes metabolic adaptations and the weight loss just stops. But Retatrutide?
It shows a continuous linear downward weight loss trajectory right through 104 weeks. Because that glucagon receptor keeps the biological engine running hot, Retatrutide absolutely smashes right through that dreaded 68-week plateau.
All right, part 4, healing the fatty liver, the unexpected miracle for MASLD patients. Now, what's really interesting here is that while weight loss definitely dominates the headlines, a phase 2 sub-study revealed a shocking benefit regarding metabolic dysfunction-associated steatotic liver disease, or MASLD for short. Up to 75% of individuals with obesity have excess fat in their liver, but by week 48, an astounding 93% of the participants on the highest 12 milligram dose completely cleared their excess liver fat. Their fat levels dropped below the 5% diagnostic threshold. This essentially means this drug cured early-stage fatty liver disease for the vast majority of patients in less than a single year. Dr. Arun Sanyal, a hepatologist who led this sub-study at Virginia Commonwealth University, summed it up perfectly. We could wipe out the fat very early in the course of this disease, before it becomes a real threat to the liver. I mean, the implications here for preventing things like cirrhosis, long-term metabolic harm, and liver failure, they are absolutely staggering.
Let's look at part 5. Side effects and safety. The reality of tolerating this superweapon.
Look, reprogramming the human metabolism to this degree comes with notable side effects. As an investigational drug, understanding the reality of what it takes to tolerate it is absolutely crucial. Like other incretin-based therapies, the most common adverse effects are gastrointestinal. Looking at the highest 12 milligram dose from the phase 3 trials, 42.4% of participants experienced nausea, 32% had diarrhea, and 25.3% dealt with vomiting. Now, it's important to note that these side effects typically happen early on, during the initial dose escalation phases, and they do tend to diminish over time, but they are significant. You can't ignore them. There was also a really unique, novel safety signal that emerged in the trials called dysesthesia. This is an abnormal, sometimes unpleasant skin sensation, often described as tingling or numbness. And it actually affected up to 20.9% of the high-dose participants. While it was generally reported as mild and rarely led people to actually quit the trial, it is a new finding. We haven't seen it as prominently with older drugs, so researchers are definitely monitoring it very closely. And because of these side effects, you definitely can't just start taking the maximum dose right out of the gate. To make the medication tolerable, patients have to undergo a rigorous, very slow titration schedule. You start at just 2 milligrams weekly, and then slowly step up the dosage every 4 weeks. You don't actually reach the full 12 milligram dose until week 16. This slow ramp-up gives the body the time it needs to adjust to its new metabolic instructions. Interestingly, though, for those who just can't tolerate the higher doses, even stopping at step 2, the 4 milligram dose, still delivered a massive 19% weight loss with very low discontinuation rates.
Finally, part 6, the future of weight loss. Let's see how Retatrutide compares and when we might actually expect it.
Let's move to and see how this builds a picture of where this investigational drug sits in the current medical landscape. Just look at how adding targets exponentially increases the ceilings for both weight loss and liver fat reduction. Semaglutide targets one receptor for about a 15% weight loss. Tirzepatide targets 2 for about 22.5%. Retatrutide targets 3, pushing that max weight loss to over 30% and absolutely plummeting liver fat by 86%. It is a clear, incredible step-by-step evolution in metabolic science. But a quick reality check. You can't get it yet from your local doctor. Retatrutide is strictly investigational right now, available only in clinical trials. Looking at the anticipated regulatory horizon, we expect 7 additional phase 3 trials to read out throughout 2026. After that, we're looking at an estimated FDA submission in late 2026 or early 2027, with potential approvals in the US and the UK following in late 2027, stretching through 2029. Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. With a single weekly injection now capable of safely reducing body weight by over 30%, clearing out liver fat, and dramatically improving cardiovascular health, are we witnessing the final days of invasive bariatric surgery? The data certainly suggest we are entering a whole new era of metabolic medicine. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep your eyes on the science. It is moving incredibly fast.